Hi, welcome back to the In-Between. My name is Camille. There's a point in this journey when you realize that you've been looking outside of yourself for the answers, because that's where the old design model told you to look. So you asked other people, you went to professionals, you looked for clues, you tried to figure it out. But this moment isn't about answers. This moment is about a presence at the center of your own beingness, a presence within you that knows. I call it the inner knower. And it makes perfect sense that it is the last helper. Because this journey through the in-between, and certainly the journey through the helpers, has been taking us on a journey that moves us from outside of ourselves to within ourselves. The in-between is ultimately the journey home. And so when you have this realization that there's been something within you that all this time has had your answer, it's a game changer, not just on the journey in between what was and what is yet to be, not just on this sacred, mysterious journey between who you used to be and who you're becoming, but it's a game changer for the rest of your life. Because now you realize that the outer authority never did have your answers. They could help you. And in the new design model, there are helpers outside of ourselves, but it's not that they have the answer. They help bring us back to ourselves. They help turn us towards ourselves. They help us journey within to find the answer. That's what my mentoring program is all about. I know I don't have your answers, but I know how to help turn you back towards yourself. I know how to help you find your answers, because it can be a very different experience to turn within. It's a very different experience to trust yourself as source. But this is what's happening. We're going from outer source to inner source. We're going from outer leadership to inner leadership. So when you arrive at the helper that is the inner knower, oh my goodness, there's just so much here to talk about. So in the old design model, what did we say all the time? Well, I got to see it to believe it. Guess what? That had us waiting a long time. In the new design model, we know how life works. And so we say, I believe it. And therefore, I know I'm going to see it. How can we say that? Because 99% of what eventually becomes form is already a possibility. It is already full potential in the invisible field that we call energy. Everything comes out of energy. Everything is everything. Everything is a wave. This is what we've been learning about, the law of attraction, right? All of these books and videos that are helping us learn how to manifest the life that we want. And yet, too many of them still keep us hinged on an authority that is outside of ourselves. The inner knower is here to remind you that you have something within you that knows. And all it asks is for you to call on it. All it asks is for you to create some time for it every day. Because before it becomes an answer, before it becomes clarity or insight or a direction to take, at its most core, it's a presence. It's an essence. It is awake, aware, alive. It is responding. It is responsive. And it uses all sorts of ways to communicate to you. Sometimes it comes to us in dreams. Sometimes the inner knower comes to us in a feeling. What do I mean? In those moments where you just go, oh my gosh, I got it. I know what to do. A feeling, a flash of insight. Sometimes it resonates in your whole body as a yes, and you have no doubt, do this thing, take this leap of faith, faith, call this person. It uses synchronicity. Sometimes the inner knower will say, call this person, and you do, and they say, oh my gosh, I was just thinking about you. Or you're looking for something, and it will say, go to this store, and you do, and there it is. The inner knower is not loud. It's quiet. It's that inner voice that comes before the direction. It's that inner voice within you that holds all the answers, all the guidance that you could ever need, because on a soul level, the inner knower is you. It is your higher self. It is the God of your understanding. It is that divine presence and essence that lives within you, that directs your life. You know, it's interesting. Intuition is not in the animal. Instinct is in the animal. Intuition is unique to us as humans because it's a language that the inner knower uses to communicate with us. Instinct in the human is all the bodily functions that we never even think about. All the bodily functions that are happening without any participation from us at all, except a few, like breathing. But intuition is where the inner knower meets you. And the good news is you can learn about intuition. You can practice strengthening your intuition. In the beginning, I didn't understand what the inner knower was. I came from a Catholic background and everything was outside of me. The God that I was taught that existed was outside of me. But as I began this metaphysical journey, as I began my own spiritual quest to answer those existential questions, who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? I began this journey from the outer world of authority to my own inner world. And so first I mentally and intellectually understood it. Then I was able to drop it into my emotional experience. I got to feel what the inner knower was all about. And then after that, I had to go into the laboratory of life and have my own experience of it, because that is the moment where you find yourself at. This whole time, first learning about the change cycle and the architecture, the structure of change, going from a cracked open moment to a breakthrough moment. Then we learned about the inner landscape, how we feel when we're going through that change. And now we've been learning about the helpers, the guides and the guidance that come from outside of ourselves, but the ones that also come from within ourselves. That's why the gatekeeper is so powerful, and that's why the inner knower is so powerful, and that's why these two helpers bring us to the end of the helpers, because we have traveled from the outside to the inside. And what awaits us next, the invitations that change invites us to consider, more times than not, happen from within. So make some time to get to know your inner knower. Spend some time watching some videos, reading some articles, grab a book about your intuition. Practice strengthening your intuition. Call on your inner knower. Ask it to show you the way. Ask it to speak to you in a language you understand. Ask it to bring an answer to you by a flash of insight in your dreams. However it is that you will begin to communicate to your own inner knower, I invite you to do it, because the inner knower simply rests within us and waits for us to call on it. And then when we do, it responds quickly, quietly, personally, and always in a language that you will understand. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.